Welcome to Make More Marbles. My name is Brad Hart, and we're here to interview the game changers, the future makers, the co-collaborators and creators who are here to collaborate with one another towards a better future for all of us. Enjoy the show. We've got a great guest coming up for you right now. Welcome to Make More Marbles. My name is Brad Hart, and I am thrilled to have Christan Hiscock on the show today. What's up, Christan? Say hi to the people at home.
Hey, how are you guys doing? I'm doing fantastic. Thanks for asking.
Oh, my pleasure. Absolutely. And I'm just thrilled to have you on the show because you're out there doing amazing things. I run into people like Christan every so often that are just kind of behind the scenes crushing it, but have zero, they're not showy, right? They have zero ego about it. They're just doing their thing and helping the people. And it's a beautiful thing. So I want to bring you into the forefront and talk about how great you are for a while. Is that cool?
That's okay. Thank you.
Right on, brother. So let's talk about how we got connected, because it was at Traffic and Conversion. I believe it was February, maybe the year before last. Savannah came into my life at the exact same time at the same house, the same party where we all met. And you introduced me to Zoom. You were running my Infusionsoft stuff for a while. And just a lot has happened. Like, what is your experience of that story? Like, how do we all come together, and what were you doing at the time? And let's talk about your hero's journey in general. Like, where are you at? Where have you been? What's been going on for you? Why should the people at home care? Really, at the end of the day, they're taking their attention to listen to us. We should probably give them a good story.
No doubt. Well, thank you. Well, it's fantastic when we did meet at that mastermind. We got Traffic and Conversion, and I was blessed enough to be in an event with 10 of us were in the house, and it was an absolute party and fun hanging out with everyone. And for me, it was the first time I really was inside of this internet marketing world and meeting a whole bunch of new people. And it was so fun to have Brad there and a couple of his other friends. And I just was so excited to just share and learn from everybody that was in that room. And it was fun also to be able to contribute and share the vision of what I have and the technology. I had a lot of background when it comes to technology and building systems and things like that. So we had a lot to collaborate over that week that we were together. And it was fun, buddy. You're a funny guy.
Thanks, brother. Appreciate it. I just always try to add value through my ability to relate to and connect with people. That's really the number one thing. And I think if everybody has their superpower, that's probably my superpower. What would you say your superpower is, Christan?
I would say 100% would be collaboration and mainly connection. I often, I'm like, people are like, oh, I met, and I'm like, oh, how'd you guys meet? And they're like, you introduced us. So I've had that opportunity a lot. I was actually just up in LA in the SoCal area at an event called Femergent, is the launch of an app of a lady that I know named Cho. And there was a bunch of speakers and keynotes and booth people. And one of the ladies who was there was a lady named Linda, who does scholarships and sponsorships, teaches people how to do that. And I was just like, oh, how did you get at this event? And everyone was just like, dude, like, you're the one that invited us. And I probably had like 6 people that were speakers or people at the booth from an event this lady was putting on. I was like, oh, love it. So I think that's
awesome.
Probably my, yeah.
And when you were a kid, you grew up in Canada, right?
I did, yes.
Tell us about your experience being a Canadian now living in the United States.
Well, I don't live in the United States. I'm there a ton. So I see, even you think I live there because I'm there so much. But no, I'm actually a Calgarian right now in Alberta, Canada. I grew up on the East Coast until I was 9. And then went down to the West Coast, and I was kind of raised on Vancouver Island, which is a beautiful part of the world. If anyone haven't been there, it's a place that you can go. People come from all over the world to love it.
It's beautiful, and it's hard to get to, let me tell you.
Yeah, there's either got to take a ferry or a plane or something, but it's a beautiful place. So I love Canada, but I also love the States. I'm there a lot to do a lot of business down there, and I just love the collaboration between our two countries, and what we're able to do is amazing with the whole digital age now. We don't have to worry about it. I have people that I work with or work with me for all over the world now. So it's pretty incredible.
I just had another Canadian on the show today, actually, Anthony Ilvibe Caparata. He's doing his thing up in Toronto. It's a beautiful world. So many Canadians I'm connected to. It's incredible. I think half of my network is Canadian, and that's certainly for the size of the countries. I think way more entrepreneurs are coming out of Canada these days.
Yeah, it's because we want to get out of the cold. It snowed yesterday. So for entrepreneurs, we might make enough money to travel a lot. So
there you go. I like it. So what has been your journey so far with regard to getting your business running? What are some of the trials and tribulations you've had along the way? I know you've had some massive success recently, and I want to get into that, but let's kind of set that up. Where'd you get your start in business? What have been some of the challenges you've overcome, and kind of paint a picture for us?
Yeah, wonderful. Well, I started my first business. I started when I was 14 years old, and so I was working, my mom was working in an actual network marketing company, and I had joined that as a 14-year-old kid and just super excited. And, you know, and over that year, the amount that I learned from just being involved with people that were trying to grow and expand and develop themselves was pretty awesome. But what I found even in that from the very beginning was the age that I was didn't really contribute to what, you know, what I really want to do in my vision. And so right away after going into that business, I kind of finished high school and school and went into actually got an amazing opportunity to work at a private school as the athletic coordinator. I was 17 years old and got asked to run a private school's athletics thing, which I'm supposed to have a degree and supposed to be a teacher, but for the luck of the draw and long story, but I was able to play that. But it was still, I was 17, 18-year-olds in an adult's world. And so I would just kept on like focusing on myself, knowing that, hey, it doesn't matter my age or my circumstance. I'm just going to keep grinding. I'm going to keep this working and showing up for the people that I work with and the people that I'm serving. And I kind of set that trend all the way along. You know, at 21, I got introduced to the financial services industry, which I know you have a big part of your background, Brad. But I was 21 and everyone was like, how is anyone going to listen to you at 21? And you're like about financial planning, about their finances. And I just looked at them like, why wouldn't they listen? This stuff's brilliant. And I want to help people get out of the rat race. And so I became very successful in the financial services industry because of that. So really my trial was what you would say, like my story about being young and kind of developing the business, and now setting, you know, I'm 30 years old and running a venture company, and we have interest in 8 companies all over North America. And it's about building the team and not really listening to the surroundings and the people around you. So my trial really became my blessing and my ability, because I was just kind of like, I believe I can do it. And it doesn't matter how young I am. Let's just make it happen kind of thing.
And Christian's one of those people you meet that from the moment I met him, he was grinding. Like you could just see, like the reason I learned about Zoom, and this is the software I use all the time, is because he was on it so much. I'm like, oh, what's that? And I started asking him about it, and he was, you know, I ended up doing it. And now they have the webinar feature, which I really love. When we do Facebook Lives, I do my Facebook Live dance. It's super fun. But yeah, I would just see him. He'd be on these calls with like 7, 8 different people. I'm like, oh, what do you got going on? And it was really fascinating just to see how consistent he was throughout the whole day, just being on calls. And I think we're both very similar in that way. But I just wanted to say I'm grateful. It's the little things that people introduce to you that change the whole course of your life. This podcast probably wouldn't exist if it wasn't for this platform. Like I would only do a podcast if I could make it fun, if I could see people. You know, I don't want to fly everywhere. And this is a way I can do 6 of them in a day and feel like I'm actually connecting with people and not just talking.
Yeah, it's a powerful tool, that's for sure. There's lots of little life hacks and things like that that can help people just totally, you know, make things easier, make things funner for themselves to continue to grow.
And make more marbles while they're at it.
Oh. Right? There you go. That's really good. That's important.
We all need a few more. So Christian, tell us about your recent success with your company. I know you got a team of 20 now, and some of the things that you've learned that have, you know, I have this theory that for you to get the things you want, need, and desire, you have to go through the challenges so that you become the person, you grow into the person that can have what you have, you know, effortlessly. It just, as a function of you being who you are in the world, it just shows up, right? And I also believe that your business doesn't grow until you grow. So what are some of the growth challenges that you've had to overcome in the recent, let's say, year that have allowed you to now be at the place you're at?
Yeah, that's a great question. And I think for myself, a lot of what the challenges were was just kind of being able to step into my power, step into my knowing of what I want to create is bigger than myself, and stop kind of playing underneath other people. I've been in business for a long time. I've worked with a lot of people, but I was always at the scenario that I wanted to be at the big boys table. I wanted to, you know, help them people grow their companies. And I would always find myself doing that. But then it would always come to the detriment because they wouldn't see the vision that I see. I wouldn't be able to see their company that as big as I could see their company. And so those things would always show up, and I kept on just playing underneath people. But then my destiny was also based on other people. I was never an employee. That didn't really work for me. I've been unemployable for my whole life, basically. But I was always still an entrepreneur with other entrepreneurs that had more of the leadership role when I didn't need to step in. So my challenge over this last year was really just taking the risk and just saying, you know what, enough is enough. I'm going to make the decision. I'm going to take that leap and be completely the person to blame if anything goes wrong, but also the person that's going to be able to help nurture other people to strive and succeed in their businesses and their lives. So it's been an amazing journey since I've kind of had that realization. And because of that, everything's been just blowing up, and we're expanding and bringing on new people every single week, every single month, it seems like right now. And so it's been pretty powerful.
And I know you're a marketing and automation wizard, but what's the focus of this new company so that people at home know what you do?
Yeah, so Leap Ventures is a company I founded and have my partner Carol is in that, my life and business partner. And then we also, what our main focus is helping heart-centered entrepreneurs build their businesses to scale. So we have a financial services company, a big focus in the financial service sector. We also have lots of an entrepreneurship world. So we're opening up entrepreneurship centers in the form of coffee houses all over North America right now. And so our business Leap Ventures and our involvement in every one of the, right now we have 8 ventures, are always the business strategy, the vision, and then the actual tactical work that we do is the implementation of marketing, development, automation, websites, all the kind of creative side when it comes to that.
Got it. I love it. And let's talk about maybe 1 or 2 client success stories so far, because obviously you're growing, you're doing things that are great. I just want to, really dial in because people respect you, for your successes and they'll love you for your failures. But I think the story is the thing that really connects them to you. So give people a story about one of your clients that succeeded with your program, your services.
You know what? I think my favorite by a long shot and how kind of hences and really solidifies the name of the company called Leap Ventures, as in taking quantum leaps, is I had met a family. I sat down with them because I was selling some real estate. One of our ventures is we help a guy named Mike Wolf sell his Atlanta turnkey properties. And so we were sitting down with them about financial services and their background, this family, awesome. They had their 2 young kids there. And we're just chatting about their financial picture. And because of my financial background, I said, I'm not just going to talk to you about the real estate, but let's look at your whole financial world. And really about probably halfway into the meeting, one of their biggest dream was that his background, this guy named Alberto, he's from Nicaragua. So he's Nicaraguan. He left there during the civil wars that were going on. But his vision was he wanted to go back. And he wanted to go back and serve the country, really help people get involved in business. And his goal with his family, his wife and his 2 youngest kids, was in 10 years was their goal for them to kind of retire from the Western world, work and things he was doing and move out there. And I kind of sit and listen to her story. I'm thinking to myself, like 10 years, that seems like a long time for one. And by the end, by kind of like wrapping up the conversation at the end, I'm like, you know what? One of the things I love helping people with is help them take their dreams that they think is going to be 10 years into maybe 2 or 3 years, maybe we can accomplish that. And they were like, oh, that's awesome. Like they're so into it, right? You could see that. And then
they're already committed to 10 years, 2 years seems easy.
Right? They're like, yeah, let's do that. Well, by the end of that conversation, after hearing more about his background and more about his connections, I basically looked over at him and I looked over at Melody and Alberto. And I said, I'm like, guys, I talked to lots of people and there's 2 different types of people. One that have a dream and they believe it so much, but the only way that they'll take the dream is that they get there by their knowledge, by what they know how to get there. Or there's other people that really, their vision is so clear for themselves, is such a big dream that if other people come and show them how to get there, they'll jump on and get it because their dream's more important than really kind of being knowledgeable and knowing it yourself. And I'm like, I believe you guys are the latter. And they're like, yeah, we are. I'm like, well, let's do this. And so about 2 months later, we were on a plane to Nicaragua with some of my other business partners, and we had just scouted out the land, and we're just in the negotiations to purchase a property in Nicaragua, which we're going to build a resort center and a retreat center for people, entrepreneurs like ourselves that want to host our retreats, as well as, just give back to the community. So their 10-year goal is really something that we'll probably execute in 6 months. So I think that's one of the stories of just, if you have a vision, guys, you have a dream, there's other people out there that want to connect with you to help you get there a lot faster than what you think is possible.
And that's why I think it's so important to be putting your message out there, telling people what you want and what you're trying to create in the world and getting that 100%. Kind of enrollment. And you'll always see, like, if you troll my Facebook, it's always questions, like story, add value, teach lessons, all that great stuff. And podcasts obviously are a way to do that. But I think where the most utility comes out is just getting people involved who are smarter than you in the conversations you're trying to have, and asking 100%. For the things that you need, and they show up. I just call it my magical genie lamp. I've been working on it for 5 years since I really got serious about Facebook and just adding value. And when I ask for something, it shows up. It's an incredible thing. Yeah. So I don't think everybody needs to do it the way I do it, but just knowing that the answers are out there. And then if you're not a connector, finding and aligning with super connectors like myself, like Christian, who they don't know everything, but they know everybody. And you don't need to know everything if you know everybody. And if you got a guy or a girl or whatever that knows the answer, then it's as if you would know the answer.
Yeah, very powerful.
So Christian, what about people who are just kind of starting out? What would be your best advice for people that are just trying to get into this entrepreneurship game? Maybe they don't have the connections, the resources, the opportunities that you have, but they're just kind of trying to figure it out and get moving forward. Like, what's the first thing they need to focus on to be successful? And I have my ideas certainly, but I want to have the collaborative conversation around that.
I love it. Well, how I really got heavily involved in the business development world is that I was sitting here one day asking that question, like, how do I start? How do I, get where I want to be? I had the glimpses of it of my past, and and I started to do a meetup, and every single week I hosted a meetup for 2 years straight, and had entrepreneurs coming out. And this is the major question that would always come up. A lot of people starting out, and so I developed what I would call vision into action, and it's basically talking about, if you're an entrepreneur and you're starting out, be super clear on what you want. Like, what is it that you're wanting to build? What is it that you're trying to do? And spend the time on that. We hear a lot of people say, like, know your why, but I think it's really important to know your what. Like, what is it you're wanting to do? And then it's also because the why is something deep rooted inside of you that you might not want to share with every single person. I might not want to share my why on this podcast with, millions of people that are going to be listening to it. But I will share my what. And my what is to inspire people to see their worth so they can go on and live fulfilled lives. Now, how I accomplish that is where a lot of entrepreneurs have a problem, because they were so caught up in the how. How do I do that? But if you focus on your what, other people in your world, like what Brad just said, will come into your life that help you accomplish that. So I think as a startup entrepreneur, being focused on your what are you even doing? What's going to motivate you and drive you and get you excited? And then continue, and then call that into your life, like what you were saying earlier. Just ask and request and bring people into your world. But I think the magical things will happen if you believe and if you know what you actually want to do, and not the how, the actual deep-rooted what.
I like that. So if you're really clear on the outcome and you're really clear on why you want to achieve that outcome, then the how will show up, is basically what you're saying, to clarify and verify?
Definitely, yeah. It will definitely be, it'll just automatically be there because you're so clear on it. There's no other reason why things won't happen, right? So I'll give you a quick example of kind of how this has related in my world. My what, as I'd say, is to inspire people to see their worth so they can go on and live fulfilled lives. All of a sudden, I'm in the conversation a couple of years ago, a year and a half ago, with a guy that his brother was about to shut down his business. And I was just like, tell me more about this business. And he's like, well, it's a beauty company. And they're based out of San Francisco. They're a subscription company. And unfortunately, because of circumstances and life stuff, he's just been overwhelmed and he's about to shut this down. And he tells me more about it. And I'm like, no, he ain't shutting that business down. Like, there's so much opportunity to help, in my opinion, show people their worth, to inspire them to live a fulfilled life. And so I got on the call with the guy, and a day later he was packing up his bags and moving from San Francisco to Calgary, and we relaunched their business. But get this wasn't just a business that was started. They have 250,000 followers on their mailing list. They have 50,000 people on Facebook. And now it's one of the ventures that are part of Leap Ventures. But the reason why that came into my life is I was never saying a how. I wouldn't have said, oh, I want to inspire people, and how I'm going to do that is get into a beauty industry and have a massive market of women that we can communicate to. That was so tactical. What it was is that every single day, if I want to send an email to 250,000 women and say, hey, you're beautiful, you have an opportunity to live the dream. You can, be confident. We can do that now. And so it's something. There's things like that is just so much. It's elusive, but it's also so powerful in it.
Yeah. And that's the key, is people don't realize that there's so many networks that you can tap into like that. There's people out there just collecting all this attention just to the very function of who they're being. Totally. And if you can find those keystone relationships and just say who has the access and who influences these types of groups of people, you can spread any message you want. So I always have my clients, I'm sure you've heard of this exercise, but I'll just tell people at home, they always have to do the Dream 100. And it's not because they need to connect with the Tony Robbins or the Oprahs or whoever they put on that list, but it's just, who are the people that they would really love to connect with one day? Because if they're in that direction and on that trajectory, they eventually will, barring any unfortunate circumstances or early death or anything like that. But, in the meantime, they can be training their reticular activating system, their RAS, to notice opportunities to get closer to those types of people that have that type of influence. And not everybody's Oprah, not everybody's the president of the United States, but everybody has influence over somebody. That's a really important thing to understand. So, Christian, if people want to kind of get their head around what it is that automation, marketing, sales systems, funnels can do for them, I kind of look at it this way. Like, I'm having a conversation with one person right now. I'm not trying to sell you anything. I'm not trying to influence you in any way. I'm just having a conversation. But a sales and influence conversation is where you start, right? That's kind of the one-to-one thing. And then these tools that we talk about are ways to generate more leverage on that same amount of energy, right? So if you design a sales funnel that has great copy and has a webinar and has all this stuff, which you know how to do, you do it with your eyes closed, then what are some of the ways that people can tap into that without having to worry about, hey, I don't have all these pieces figured out. I don't have the budget yet, but I want to take that conversation from one to one to many. What are the first things they could do?
Yeah, love it, love it, love it. So first and foremost, like the budget thing, we're on a show, podcast, Make More Marbles. The reality is so many times people think that because you're starting from scratch, you might not have the capital to do it. That means you got to stop and you got to wait and wait and wait. Well, what if there's other people that have the other opposite skills that you have that can actually help you go through it? So we have people on our team that I pay commission to. They work, they promote, they sell, they market, and they only make money when I make money. So the reality is, if you have a message, if you're in that kind of a space, there's other people that will partner with you for their services and their skills without you having to put the money up front, right? There is that opportunity. So that's, I think, first and foremost. I think the mindset behind it is so important when it comes to automation and building systems and selling things on, whether it's online or through systems, is that if you have a calling, if you really want to make a massive difference in people's lives, you need to reach as many people as you possibly can. So it doesn't take away from it. A lot of coaches, a lot of people in these different spaces are like, well, I like my one-on-one time. I feel connected to my clients. Don't stop doing that. Just realize if you want to make more marbles and do it, you have to do other things as well. So selling your course, I know you are an expert in, or doing those different things, it can bring in the baseline of money so that you could focus on that one-on-one. And guess what? On that one-on-one time, you can actually dive into that person rather than worrying about if they're going to sign a check at the end of the call or end of the conversation, because you're not worried about that. It's so much of a relief when you go into conversations into life not worried about money. Like, that's the worst. It's so primitive at the end of the day. Like, get to the point that it's just, that's not an option for you. And I think, Brad, if you don't mind, I want to kind of use this as an opportunity to answer the question earlier too about startup entrepreneurs, and kind of, because this kind of relates to anybody, whether you're a startup or you're even, had success in your business, but you want to get to that next level and you're not there. Is my biggest realization that I had over about 2 years ago that has changed the trajectory of my business life, my personal life, everything, was a simple scenario where I'm a massive dreamer. I am a visionary like no other. Any visionary, you guys know, I can sit down with them and they're not going to be over my head. I'm going to love it. And so because of that, I've lived in the clouds and in that vision for most of my life. The time when I'm actually starting to get the results in today's time and today's clock and today's bank account was the moment that I realized that I can actually put that dream, that vision on the mantle, so I can look at it every single day. But 100% of my time and energy needs to focus on stability. So I need to build to that platform so that I don't have to be worrying about paying for things or paying for my food or any of that kind of stuff, so that those bigger visions will actually come a lot faster, and it'll actually come faster to us, right? I've been in an entrepreneurial world since for good 15, 16 years. It's only been over the last year, 2 years that things have really clicked over, and the visions that I've had have been starting to happen. And that's because I focused on stability. So I think that's a big missing piece in a lot of entrepreneurs, Brad, and that's why they fail. It's not because they don't have the vision or the work ethic. It's because they just forget to focus on the things that actually get them to survive.
Right. So if you can go through your calendar, maybe as a takeaway, and just look at all the things you're doing that actually generate revenue versus the things you're doing that are actually just creating more, noise in your life, instead of signal. Maybe you could do the 80-20 on it and say, all right, well, what's actually bringing in enough dollars? And then get to a place where enough dollars are coming in every month where you're in a good shape. And I'm guilty of this too, guys. I run multiple businesses. Sometimes I get a little bit teeter-totter on my cash flow, and I'm like, oh, wait, hold on. Stop the bus. We got to make more money. And I'll come and I'll push really hard, and I'll sell and I'll sell and I'll sell. And I'm fortunate and grateful that I have the skills and the network to generate a lot of cash very quickly. One example is we raised 35 grand to go to China in like 2 weeks. We can do it. I just don't always focus there because I'm always thinking big vision, big vision, big vision. And that just a great confirmation for me to just remind myself, like, it's okay to, circle up the wagons, bring in some more cash, get back to stuff. And, when you have a lot of projects going on, a lot of things that suck up cash and resources, a lot of team members that you're paying. It's really easy to get topsy-turvy quick, and that can send you down a bad road, especially if you're like me and you don't want to be in your bank accounts all the time looking, and you show up and you're like, oh God, that's scary. All right, come back. At this rate, it's going to be really bad in a year. So, just understanding that's okay. It happens to everybody at every level. And you're just talking about bigger swings, right? I used to be 5 years ago, the guy that I would lose in a Mercedes in a day, and I would cry in the hot tub. I'd lose 70, 80, 100 grand, 300 grand sometimes in a day, and make $1 million in a month, and have all these crazy swings. And for some reason, I was emotionally dead enough where that didn't affect me. It actually affects me more now than it used to then, which is kind of funny. Yeah, totally. But additionally, I have more capacity for people to really make massive transformation and not just make money. So the trade-off, I think, has been much worth it. And when I rebuild it to the level that I was at then, I will also have both sides of the story. I'll be able to emotionally relate. I'll have the art of fulfillment as well as the science of success down brass tacks, really. It's just going to be that piece. So anybody listening at home, I can ramble, but the takeaway is whatever you're going through, somebody's been through it, and they've been in a position where stability was a need that they had that they weren't fulfilling. And by coming back to stability, as Christian's saying, you create a platform, essentially. You create a rock solid foundation to grow and build whatever you want, to then be able to have the cash and the space and the time and the energy, attention to create those big visions more quickly. Yeah.
And it'll continue to be that stability point and just ratchet yourself up so that your fall down point never becomes something massive that devastates your world or your family. And stability doesn't necessarily only have to be money too. It's like you mentioned about the personal development or your mental state or your relationship status. It's really what stability means to you. And that's really what you got to focus on and what your world looks like. And a kind of a good example of how to ground it when it comes to stability or just like focus, because sometimes it's just about what we think about and what we focus on. And so Dr. Tony Pennell's the amazing guy that does mindshift.money, right?
I love Dr. Tony Pennell's. Big shout out, and go check out mindshift.money, I believe it is.
Totally, it is. Yeah, powerful guy. And I've had multiple conversations with him. We have a good similar backgrounds when it comes to the financial world. And one of the things that he talked about, what really helped shift me, is he talked about, hey, like, everyone wants to win the lottery, right? We talk about winning the lottery in business and life, whatever that looks like. But if we think about money for a second in a lottery, I know I did with my 2 siblings and my mom, we would lay on her bed and we'd dream about if we won the $1 million lottery, right? And we tell all the things that we would do, the vacation, the cars, the this. And Dr. Tony just shared with me one time, and I share it with so many people, saying, what if you had $4,000 a month of passive, consistent income? Like just $4,000 a month each person. So I looked at my family unit and I'm like, well, 4, that's 8, that's $16,000 a month passively without having to do anything. And then I reevaluated my dreams and all those things that we talked about as a kids. And I was like, but would I have the same vacations, drive the nice cars, have the nice house? And I'm like, that 16,000 would have given me that entire list of things I wanted to win $1 million. And what it did for me is, what's the big difference between winning a lottery of millions of dollars and building $4,000 a month for myself or for each person in the family? Everything. Because that 4,000 months attainable. We all know that. Anyone that we speak to, Brad, you can coach someone in a 10-minute thing about how to make $4,000 a month. So that's attainable, which means we can go get that. That's what I mean by stability. That's that point where our focus, our vision is the big things that we want to accomplish with the big $1 million lottery, but our actions are going to get us to where we can our minds can understand.
Absolutely. And that's really the key. And then by doing so, you get to gain momentum and you get to vibe at a higher level, which attracts more things in your life. It's just science, really. And we may not have the tools to measure it, but the results speak for themselves, right? When people vibrate higher, they attract better people and systems and circumstances in their life that create more for everybody. And it's a really beautiful system. I think you could spend your whole life just looking at this beautiful existence and being in awe and in wonder of all that we have. And people don't even tap into it, but you can only perceive the level of consciousness that you're at or below. You can't perceive higher levels of consciousness until you've been there, right? It's like trying to explain to somebody who's never been to, China, what China is like. China's a lot of things, a lot of people, but until you've been there, you don't really get China. And I've been, and I'm good. I don't need to go back. But if I do go back, I can make the appropriate plans. So, Christian, what does the next phase look like for you in the next 5-10 years?
Oh, I love it. So is this actually kind of cool they say this? So I recently just found a note that I wrote myself back in my first business days when I was getting brainstorming, and I wrote what my vision was for my life and for what I wanted to do. And it was very clear and very precise. It said, I want to build an organization that is in multiple divisions: hospitality, financial services, because that was something that I was involved with at that time, but also has a massive charity component to give back millions and millions of dollars per year to the organizations and the charities that I believe are making a difference on this planet. And so right now I've been building my whole life to get to the point that I can start building the teams to build organizations at that level. So really my next 5 to 10 years are just solidifying and building world-class teams in those different industries. So we've just launched a full financial services company here in Canada, with mortgage brokerage, lending, like all that kind of segment, financial planning, insurance, real estate, on a big scale through Leap Ventures, called Cardia. I have our educational systems.
Wait, Cardio with a K?
Cardia with the K, yeah.
Yeah, I have their thing on my phone right now. Look.
Oh, what?
That's their little app, right? That's their little deal that measures your heart rate. Is that the same company?
Oh, no, it's different. Yeah,
that's so
cool,
funny.
though.
Oh, okay, sorry. This is a little EKG machine I got from Peter Diamandis' mastermind. It's really cool.
Oh my goodness, that's hilarious. No, Cardia for a K, it's the same thing, but it's with the K, because Cardia for, and it's trademarked up here in Canada for us now, but Cardia stands for heart or heart-centric, but not the organ. So that's why we went to our financial services company that. So really, we're going to keep building. You guys send me more information on that thing that you have there. That's cool.
Oh, it's super rad, dude. Check. So they talk about, I'll just segue for a second. 80% of strokes and heart attacks can be detected as an arrhythmia early on within a month of that massive event, right? That could kill somebody. So they say 30 seconds, you test your ECG. If there's any abnormalities, it'll show up. The doctors look at it on the back end. They let you know, hey, you should get a checkup. It could save your life. So 30 seconds once a week, and it's right on my phone. I can't forget.
Love it. Love it. So that's kind of where my vision is. It's just really helping build my team at Leap Ventures, and to the point that we can really execute and build world-class companies that have that heart-centered approach and give back a lot to charity. I say on my team calls every single week, we have multiples for our different divisions, and I say what people want to do, what people think they build a business in years or months. My vision for everything that we do is, how do we build a company? How do we build sustainability for anything that we go in 2 weeks? So if I meet someone at an event and they have a brilliant idea and it's awesome and I believe in it, goes to our core value, how do we get that thing fully launched, funded, built, developed in 2 weeks? So that's our vision, that's our mission, and I think we're just going to crank a bunch of businesses out over the next 5-10 years.
I love that, because you got the playbook, right? And you can scale it, and you got obviously the capacity. So why not? Serve people at a higher level. I love it. And you really have a great sense for how to do that quickly. And I appreciate it so much. All right. So this is something I always talk about with my guests, and I never tell them it's coming, but this is the Make More Marbles podcast. You've been so generous, and we're so grateful for your time and for sharing some of the things you've learned in your entrepreneurial journey. We want to give back to you. So the way we do that is talk about crops, right? Seeds, crops, etc. Crops is connecting resources, opportunities, people, and systems together. So what are the connections, resources, opportunities, people, and systems that you need to move your vision forward faster? Christan Hiscock, go.
Oh, that is fantastic. So I am an advocate of building teams. I was just saying, we're up at about 21. I said 20 earlier, but we just brought on a new person. So we're at 21 people. I am always looking for people that are really in a place in their business or in their life that they're either in design, automation, all those kind of things, and they're wanting to be part of a team that's actually growing and scaling very fast. I'm not at the point that it's like I need to go find work. Just with our own companies, we are slammed all the time. So it's like, we're always looking for those resources of people, from people. But then also too, the funniest thing is, like, when you start making more money, you'll know this very much. You start making more money and your businesses start making more money. All of a sudden, you also need more capital to continue to expand and grow to the development level where you are. So for me, honestly, amazing would be, I want to have a guy like what I'm going to be like 5 years and 10 years from now come into my life now and say, hey, I love what you're doing and you've been sweat equity building it. And here's the check to help all these projects that you already have the plans laid out to execute right now. Yes. Because that's really what we take. And I would love that. And I know there's people out there that do it. So that's what I've been calling into my existence. Like, I just know that person, that guy or that gal is going to come in and say, wow, Christan, what you built is fantastic with your team. Let's let's go, let's partner, let's make this happen. So
I also want that. I'm just going to say right out loud, I'm also currently having conversations very much like that. And it's funny when you start intending that, because I was struggling for a little bit where I was like, oh man, I don't know how I'm going to do all this. I have so much opportunity on my plate and so many plans. I can see so many angles, like really world shaking things. And I just don't have enough capital and time to just go after and do all of it. I don't necessarily want to sell a giant chunk of my business like a VC model, but if I have somebody come in that gets it, gets the mission, wants to be a partner, has access to capital and wants to just be part of this thrust, this mission, I'm right there with you, man. So maybe we could just connect offline and talk more about how that could look. Additionally, what I've noticed is that the people start coming to my life that do big deals and saying, all right, these are the pieces you don't know that you need to have in place. And let me help you and guide you through what that looks like. And here's a spreadsheet, and here's a formula, and here's the checklist, and here's all that stuff that they figured out they've done 700 times and it's easy to them. And they're willing to actually give to me because I've given to them so much. And it's not because I could ever connect the dots looking forward. I just know I keep adding value to great people and that type of stuff shows up for me. So that's just a great lesson, guys. Is just never stop adding value. Specific, considerate. How can I help you? How can I serve you? How can I support you? Get really drilled into people's needs, wants, and desires. Help them achieve those needs, wants, and desires. And guess what? Amazing things will start happening to you too.
Yeah, totally. And also to believe that you deserve it. My biggest thing that I had, I know that, I don't know if you know her, name's Colette Stryker. Brilliant lady. She created a thing called MAP Institute, and it's manifesting all possibilities. 40 years of psychology background and a bunch of stuff. She's been my kind of a coach of mine for a while. But one of the things that she had said is that, Christan, you are so good at manifesting things in your life. You have this desire to go and inspire people to see their worth so they can go on and live their life, and you get to travel the world speaking on stages and doing exactly that. But what you're not focusing on is what you really need to help you have your message get out bigger, and you need high revenue. So Christan, focus on high revenue and to manifest that, because I would always be afraid of, like, people are afraid of that. And as soon as I started shifting, it's like, she asked me, Christan, if you have high revenue, quickly answer, what would you do? And I was like, I'd hire more people, build a more bigger world-class team. I'd start more businesses. All of my answers were about serving other people. And she's like, see, stop not focusing on that. And so now it's like, as soon as I started switching that, it's like, holy, the people that I've been able to attract into my life, guess what? They need to have big salaries and big money. And so we need to manifest that. So me and my life partner and my beautiful queen, as I call her, that's our focus. We're talking about the high revenue, bring in things like that and leverage our ability to go and hire more better people if we bring it in. And so that's what I'm manifesting. I've been working on it. And it's one of those things that we're heart-centered people, that's probably their biggest challenge to go over, is they're always giving, and it's so hard for them to receive.
Well, and that's it. You got to have a bigger cup to serve more people. If you really want to give, you got to get over the fact that, guess what? It's going to take some money, right? It's going to take a lot of money, not some. So, all right, cool. And then what are some of the additional resources that you haven't tapped into yet? And I have some ideas of my own. Like there's the SBA type programs. So what are the kind of analogs in Canada that could be the next level of financing and an opportunity to tap into?
Yeah, so I think we're asking like how other ways to find capital and get things like that.
Yeah, like Canadian specific, because I have a lot of people who listen to the show that are from Canada and might want to hear about some of those things.
Yeah, so there's some pretty cool programs when it comes to there's different grant programs. Working with a company right now it helps you get grants or get money from the government for business development or economic development in different areas. And so different parts, different provinces that are called here in Canada have their actual budget to give to entrepreneurs to innovate and to do things. Even as much as training. So if you're a coach or if you're a business consultant or anything in that realm, there's corporate organizations that will write checks of $5,000-$10,000 for your 3 days training things, as long as you get yourself certified and let yourself produce that receipt saying this is leadership training. So those are kind of really cool ways to be able to use that gather money, that free money that you don't got to pay back, which is really powerful. And then also it's just about that. If you're talking about relationship capital, it's also people around you too. There's a lot of people, I'm telling you, that have money sitting in their bank accounts or in their other assets that are just not doing anything in our economy, and they want to invest in your project and in your business. So work out some rev share models, work out some opportunities. I've been very successful in doing that over the years.
Yeah, that's huge. I mean, you made two really great points. Is, something I tell people all the time is they're always like, "Oh, I can't afford a team. I can't afford a team." There's tons of people out there that are doing something in the world that they sell and they're great at it. They're great at promoting and they make money when you make money. That's a great way to put it. And then the other
Yeah.
piece is like, there's tons of people with just capacity to put money to work. And people think, oh, well, my clients have no money. Well, you're just not really digging deep enough or talking to the right people. That's the other piece, is like the belief makes it so, right? If you
Yeah.
find, if you're committed, you find a way.
Yeah.
And for me, every growth quantum leap, to use your terminology, that I've ever made came from a place where I didn't have it.
Yeah.
And then I found a way because I was
Totally.
committed, and that was it. And that's really the key takeaway, guys, is that when you are the type of person who finds a way, people notice, because entrepreneurs who are successful walk through life seeing how everybody's limiting themselves. I can't turn it off.
Yeah.
I
No.
hear people and I hear what they say, but more importantly, I hear what they must believe underneath to say it. So when I run into somebody who doesn't have all that blocks and 10 years worth of crap that I have to work through to get to the core of who they are, of stories and crap that just holds them back, and I see that they're into it, and I could just take that and like direct it, just those 2 millimeters, and get them the things that they need faster than they ever thought possible.
Yeah, totally. And those people too, there's like talking about building teams. It's like people want to work for you if you're different. Like the reason why we've been scaling, and I'm not just like hiring random people. Like I got people that are leaving massive jobs. We brought on a lady, came over from Sotheby's International, and she was an engagement specialist, and she's on our team. And I have my VP of marketing, Stacy's a brilliant guy that was in the agency world and ran 6 cities. His agency was. They're coming and working with us at Leap Ventures because they know the vision of where we're going. They're not getting paid the amount that they even are worth, and even they know it's not worth for me, but they will eventually. They get paid well, but not what they're worth for their capacity. But they want to be solved with something different. So if you actually have something that's different, if you're actually serving clients and serving people in a good way, people want to be part of that. Because the reality is, where else are they going to go? Like a lot of people, they want to work for people, they want to partner with people, and they have nowhere to go, and you're too timid to just ask people, hey, this is what I'm doing. Like that's all you have to say. Share it. This is what I'm doing. This is what I need. And bam, those people are going to show up in your world. If you say, I only have broke clients and I only have no money, guess what? Only broke clients are going to show up, and you're not going to have any money. Like it's just how it is.
And leadership starts with self-leadership. If you decide that you want to be a leader and have the benefits of being a leader in your life, which is what we're talking about at the end of the day, it starts with leading yourself. It's saying that, no, I'm going to hold myself to a higher standard. I'm going to step into the gap and make something happen. And once you do that, life starts to support you, because life supports that, which supports life.
Totally. Love it.
So Christian, where can people find you if they have those resources that we talked about, that opportunity for you? They want to reach out and say, hey, I got a guy or a gal for you that would be a really great fit for your organization, or anything else that's going on, or that mentor is listening. How do they get in touch with you?
A couple of easiest ways is just probably ChristanHiscock.com. It's just my website that kind of talks about a lot more about like my motivational stuff and the things I talk about from mindset side, but there's contact information on there. Or either just simply just sending me an email to my email and just chatting and seeing if you're looking for something. I would love, like Brad was just saying, if you have offered what I'm looking for, but also I love supporting entrepreneurs. I've spoken and talked to a lot of people with no expectation, because I believe as entrepreneurs, if we're all growing and thriving and making a difference, we're going to change this planet. So reach out to me if you just have any questions or more thoughts or stuff you want to have support in. I'm a massive believer in collaboration, and I don't have competition. No one. They're all like, if a company's doing exactly the same thing that I'm doing, I'm going to tell them all the things that are working good for me, because the reality is there's 7-something billion people on this planet, and there's no one that's going to be overshadow your business and what you're able to do. So collaboration.
And that's why you, my friend, are a marvel maker, because you're collaborative, not competitive, and you're willing to make more for everybody. Christian, people can find you at CHRISTAN, not no I always mess it up at the end there, HISCOCK.com. And I would encourage you to reach out to this man if you want to scale your business fast. He's an awesome individual, and I've known him for a long time. Christian, thank you so much for being on the show and for sharing your knowledge and wealth of wisdom with us. And I would love to sidebar with you after the show and just kind of chat about how we can both kind of get aligned again. Because, as much as we've been friends and bouncing off each other, I think this is the perfect opportunity to realign and continue on this path together. So thank you so much on behalf of everybody at Make More Marbles. That's it for the show. And thanks for listening.
Thank you, guys. Thank you.
Thanks so much for listening to the Make More Marbles podcast. For more tips, hacks, and strategies to create an amazing, abundant life in your health, wealth, and relationships, whatever that means to you, head on over to makemoremarbles.com. Check out our cool explainer video about what we're about and join our community of entrepreneurial game changers. We want to help you level up your life in every possible way. And don't forget to subscribe to us on iTunes, Stitcher, or Google Play, wherever you listen to your podcasts, and please do leave a review. Thank you so much, and we'll see you on the next podcast.